The Big 12 Experience, Texas Tech, Wreckham Red Raiders 2024 team preview edition of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up today using the promo code TCESGPN to claim your first time deposit. Offer up to $250 bonus in cash. Underdog Fantasy, promo code TCESGPN. And we're also brought to you by Rhythm. Rhythm's college football and NFL projections are now live. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That is the sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM today. Welcome, everybody, into the Big 12 College Experience, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Wreckham, here we go. We're head to West Texas for the Texas Tech Red Raiders preview. Year 3 of the Joey McGuire era, 15-11 so far. We'll touch on his era so far, the offense, defense, our final predictions for this Red Raiders team. This is preview number 13 out of 16 now in the Big 12. I had to carry the one there when I was adding. But hey, if you're wondering who you're listening to, I am Moneyline Mac, aka the former video coordinator for Bob Huggins and Frank Martin. And we're talking Big 12 football. And you guys recognize these guys from last night. Well, all three of us were on the main show. Go check out that Big 12 preview because the first guy was a walking contradiction. Born in Provo, Utah. Family name's Iowa. Lives in Morgantown, West Virginia. Co-host of the Ryan and Rush Show. Rambling Rush, what's up, man?
Great show last night, guys. Had a lot of fun. Always good with Colby on. Kind of went through all these teams. A little rushed at the end, but it's all good. That give everyone a little taste of the Big 12 college experience. Have them tune in. But appreciate the support from last night. Yes, Chad, we are sickos. Got to keep podcasting. Content is king. But hey, excited to talk about this Texas Tech team. We had gambling gotchas on the Ryan and Rush show. Texas Tech local media there, so check that out too. And then We're almost at week 0, boys. Almost there.
We are, and we are on basically 24/7. Content's king. We got basketball on the horizon, but right now we're talking football, and we're bringing this man, third man in the box. He's got a family civil war. He does not have Lubbock in his ties, but maybe one day he will because he's got family in Stillwater, Waco, Fort Worth, Orlando, Cincinnati. He's everywhere in Big 12 country. He is the Big 12 guru, aka the green mowing, weed growing, Troy Chewning. What is up, man?
Just paying attention to my my 12-year-old parlay here on the Little League World Series. Oh man, there's nothing like betting on real baseball, and the last real baseball left is the Little League World Series. I mean, the kids. You can't be mad at some of the kids. You see some of the best covers in Little League because everybody's still trying their ass off even when they're down 10-9 runs. It's nice to see real athletes go out there and compete and earn me some good money.
Over under when they will start implementing the NIL packages for the Little League World Series.
I mean, they probably already can, to be honest.
Where do you get down on that? Is it Bovada? Is that where you got to go?
You've got to use offshore. Yeah.
You got to be a real sicko to get down on some Little League World Series. So go follow Troy Chewning for his Little League World Series angles. And I know sicko Noah Beanick is also breaking it down. So that's where you go get your Little League World Series. Here we're going to talk Big 12. Joey McGuire, year 3, 15-11 overall. Last year was the hype machine. Remember the articles? They're the next Bama. What the hell was that article? But in all honesty, I actually thought it was a pretty good year considering how they started and how many injuries they've had at the quarterback position. Rush, just your take on this program under McGuire so far.
Yeah, I mean, 2 years ago, right? We got to talk about where this hype came from. I mean, they overperformed in his first year, and then we kind of tend to see that settle down as we talk about year by year. I think they are in a good position where they're not being overhyped. I mean, we've talked about this last night. We talked about it on the Ryan and Rush show. Excellent schedule Texas Tech has. You have to take advantage of this schedule. And I mean, because of that, I think we'll see the complete sample size of Joey McGuire this year. I mean, Texas Tech still really loves the guy. I think he has all the potential in the world. Obviously, with Texas Tech in these Texas schools, is you got to be able to recruit in that state, and you're competing against a lot of other schools in the state. So it seems like they've been doing a pretty good job. And as the Gambling Gachos said, this is the year where we really see how Joey McGuire has recruited these past couple years come to life. So, hey, they really have all the opportunity in the world. If Morton stays healthy and Brooks, if he's able to have an Ollie Gordon type of year or play similar to that, they could do a lot of great things this year. So I know all of us are pretty high on Texas Tech, satisfied with the job Joey McGuire's done, but this is definitely that year where it's kind of that now or never. Can they take that next step? Can they move forward? So everything on paper says they can. And so it's really there. It's really in their ballpark to lose. So hopefully they don't.
Troy, how about you, man? What's your take on this program?
Well, this is another one of the Big 12 quarterbacks that kind of fell near the end of our power rankings, not necessarily like in the basement, but he wasn't up there with those 5 or 6 shortlist names of all the guys that we're thinking, if they play well, they could get Heisman hype. I don't know if Morton's ever going to get to that level this season, but if there was a school that was going to have a quarterback take a major step forward, it's almost always Texas Tech, whether you're expecting them to do it or you're not expecting them to do it. They kind of just find a way to, have one of those Texas-style quarterbacks that figures out a way to kind of sling it around a little bit better than most other college programs can figure out. So with that being, kind of the norm in Texas Tech, I know they bring in a new offensive line coach and a couple of transfer guards that were pretty high in the transfer portal. But again, this league is much more like the NFL now, where it's trench game. And without it, you can kind of fake your way to a pretty good season. But when push comes to shove against those major good teams, you'll get eaten alive if you can't survive in the trenches. So again, it's another one of those schools where the idea of what they're putting together on the O-line is good, but it's not necessarily something that we've seen yet. So we're still waiting to see if that works out.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. And breaking news, Big 12 legend RG3 fired from ESPN. So I'm breaking news on this show too. So that's on in the background.
Really?
I thought I'd throw that in there. Thank God, he's annoying as hell.
They saw him deep throating that croissant, and they just got him the fuck out of there.
Yeah, it was too much. So, lot going on in the chat. Shout out to everybody here on a Thursday at 2 Eastern, 1 Central. I think you guys make great points. I mean, this is such a big year, and I think the start is going to be pivotal because that Wyoming game last year took the wind out of their sails. As soon as they blew that 17-0 lead, they should have beat Oregon the next week. They blew that game. And I don't think they should have won in Morgantown, but they were right there to win the game at the end and steal it in Morgantown. Next thing you know, you went from the dark horse playoff team to 1-3 out of September, and you're fighting uphill to get back to 7-5. We'll talk offense, defense, to the portal, etc. on the other side. But first, we got to talk about Underdog Fantasy. And there's my ads. All right. I knew that Underdog was up. Underdog, how can I forget Underdog, baby? I probably don't even need the ad break because you got to use the promo code right above my damn head, TCE SGPN, to claim your special pick and first time deposit. Offer up to $250 bonus in cash. Underdog Fantasy, we're going to be doing best ball. We're going to be doing Big 12 lineups, optimal lineups each and every week. A lot of options. We talked about the different quarterbacks in this league. You can play. You can build a nice little Big 12 lineup with all the different quarterbacks, running backs. It's going to be fun this year. So we're fired up to pair up with Underdog once again. Use that promo code TCESGPN. You got to use that code, or otherwise you won't get the first time deposit. Offer up to $250 bonus in cash. Underdog Fantasy. Again, promo code TCESGPN. All right, we are back, and I don't know if you guys saw on Twitter today, me and Chad G got a head-to-head wager. March Madness drinks on the line.
All that.
West Virginia, more wins than the Colorado Buffaloes. Can't wait to get my bar tab paid for in Vegas, Chad G. So shout out to Chad G in the chat. 16-6 ATS for the Mountaineers, including a win over Texas Tech. But I will not talk about the Mountaineers till next week when we do our West Virginia preview. We saved the best for last. We're talking Red Raiders now. Offensively, it starts and ends with Tahj Brooks, man. Over 1,500 yards. He's, in my opinion, and probably Rush's as well. We talked about it with the Gambling Gaucho, so go check out that episode. He's one of the more underappreciated running backs in the country. Rush, what's your takeaway with this offense led by Tahj Brooks?
Yeah, I mean, I think all the hype surrounds Ollie Gordon, and it was funny because we were talking to the Gambling Gauchos, and we're trying to preview their team, and all they do is bring up Ollie Gordon hit stats and just trash him. But hey, it happens. Love the Big 12 animosity. But yeah, Tahj Brooks needs to make that major step. Absolutely more than capable of doing that. I think the big question for him is not necessarily him or his athletic ability, but can this line hold it down for them? Obviously, we know how important the trenches are for these Big 12 teams, the Big 12 being a league that was once a 64-58 final score. Now, sometimes you see that 24-21 or 17-20 score, definitely moving more towards a running back, grinded out style of play. So it's absolutely crucial for this Texas Tech team to get Tahj Brooks going and keep him going throughout the season. Behren Morton, obviously, he's dealt with injuries in the past, so he's going to really need him to get going to alleviate some of that pressure. And we'll see. They have I think a new left tackle, new left guard coming in, so that left side of the offensive line really need their experience to step up, protect Morton's blind side. A couple new receivers in as well. Gauchos seem really high on these guys. So, hey, they have all the potential in the world on offense, and if they really get it going, they're going to be a team no one wants to play. But we got to see it. Quick thing on Morton as well. I know he saw like 3 specialists, but they're like, hey, nothing to worry about here. He's just seen 3 specialists. So I guess he's good to go. They're telling us not to worry, but usually when someone's saying don't worry, you should be worrying. People love his intangibles. People love his athletic ability. I still need to be sold on it. And like I said, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt because of all that he went through last year, having to step up and then having those, the AC sprain and ankle injuries too. But he may be a gunslinger like everyone's saying and have a lot of, athleticism and be a good quarterback. What scares me, and Texas Tech fans don't like to hear this, but if the injury bug comes crawling or it's just a game, say, where he doesn't have it, my concern is, can he kind of just step back and game manage if he has to? And I don't know if he can, because he has that in his head, like, oh, I'm capable of doing this, and then something weird happens. So I'm not saying he has to be a game manager, but those situations are going to come up. And can he prevent himself from being his own worst enemy? So we'll see this year.
Troy?
So I think Tahj Brooks is going to be that best ball guy for us for the first few weeks, to be honest. Definitely underappreciated. Definitely could argue that he's on the level as Ollie Gordon. And if he played for a team that had that much experience and was, that bought in throughout the year of, we're just going to give this guy the rock and let him go with it, I could see him putting up the same stats as Ollie Gordon does too. That's not like, there's not much of a physical difference or anything like that between the two. They're both fantastic running backs. But Brooks certainly less appreciated nationally than Ollie. Maybe that changes this year. I know they get Josh Kelly back at wide receiver. They're pretty excited about Micah Hudson, who's a 5-star recruit at wide receiver. And I know Rush brought it up, but Vinny Skiri from Toledo is that transfer guard. And they also got Davion Carter from Memphis as 2 guards to kind of probably work in a little bit of depth, or maybe use them both interchangeably. But they were pretty high rated transfer rankings for guards. So that's kind of nice for them to see. And they also bring in Jalen Conyers, specifically because he said he's really good buddies with Morton, and he plays that tight end position where if you've got some good chemistry between a quarterback and a tight end, you can make it hell for teams trying to get third down stops when, somebody slow and big like Jason Witten just finds a way to get that 7 yards when it's 3rd and 6 every single time. And you're like, God damn it, how are we getting beat by this white guy? We'll see how the offensive line comes together, though. That's obviously the biggest question for a lot of these teams. And with the transfer portal, it seems like most of the teams feel as if they can get, 2 or 3 extra guys that can really shore up an offensive line. And then we get 3 or 4 games into the season and we realize some of these lines are about as good as they were last year. And, nobody's really taken a step forward versus, oh man, these 2 guys really stepped up their game. Very hard to tell before the season starts for some of these guys that are transferring that aren't, we see this guy going in the first 2 rounds of the NFL draft, no matter where he played. Doesn't really seem to affect the transfers that we see on the line. And again, I got to see Morton do it. I've got to see him do it for multiple games in a row. I've got to see him do it as the guy that throws for 380 yards. And then, like Rush said, I got to see him throw for 180 yards and 2 picks in a game where he still manages to, move the ball down the field and maybe win the game at the end and just write it off. Not a great game, but we got the win. We're moving on. Don't think we've seen that much from Morton. And granted, it was, only his first few starts getting in there last year. But again, still unproven. I
agree.
I still see the fool's gold in Texas Tech, I think.
Side note on Morton, Shuck was the one that was the starter for that first month before the bad injury at West Virginia. So they kind of caught fire with Morton. He got injured in the K-State game. The only game he started and lost where he finished the game was the Texas game at the end. We'll see if they can continue the momentum. Let's go over to the defensive side. I think if you're a Texas Tech fan, this is where you're optimistic. I think outside of Brooks, I think the defense takes a step forward. 2 years ago is where they really were good defensively. And I thought that's why there was so much momentum headed into year number 2. Could we see a jump here with these guys back in the system for another year, Rush?
You have to. This is another defense where you kind of need to see that Texas Tech defense that we've seen over the past couple of years, as you mentioned there. I know they lost a couple starters. I think one got drafted in the NFL, 2 I think went to the UFL. So they definitely, even though all of their starters still have been within that program, so you do have that continuity going into this season. Definitely need some of these guys to step up. I think the concern from everything I'm gathering is their secondary. I know that's a concern for a lot of teams. So secondary definitely has to make that jump. Linebackers as well need to see what they're capable of. Defensive line looks pretty strong. Need to absolutely be able to create pressure, fill in the gaps, of course, to set up your linebackers and secondary well. But I think from a defensive side, I know we talk about taking a step up. I really think they need a little more than that, maybe 2 steps. We really need to see some continuity on this defensive side and be able to, as we talked about on the offense, if any concerns there, when it comes, and there will be games where we're specifically, Troy and I are talking about those ones where Morton needs to be that kind of game manager. Can the defense make a critical stop or 2? So I know there were issues with Texas Tech in the red zone last year. So hopefully they can really beef it up, especially in the red zone.
Troy, what's your thoughts on this defense, man?
The kid from Japan just hit like a 300-foot home run in the Little League World Series. That was pretty sweet. I know they're kind of excited about getting DeBraylon Carroll to transfer from Rice. I don't know if he's going to be slotted in as a starter right away, but they see a lot of physical traits in him where up front could become kind of a game wrecker, which I think that's what Texas Tech really needs to concentrate on here. I know the back end, they only return one safety. They're really trying to shore up, the other two corner positions and figure out who's going to be back there and then keep stuff in front of them. But they get Jacob Rodriguez and Ben Roberts back at linebacker. I know Rodriguez was kind of banged up throughout the year last year, so he didn't get a full season of play. But he's a pretty good linebacker when he's healthy. And then I know Ben Roberts I think he was the only freshman with more than 100 tackles in college football, which, again, it's better to see a linebacker leading your team in tackles than it is to see a safety. But this is another one of those groups where there's not any big name that you're going to have out there that you can lean on to really game break anything. So they're going to have to play as a pretty good full unit. And it might be where they need that defense to turn some of the other star quarterbacks into game managers, to where then it becomes an equal playing field and Morton can go out there and not have to try to push too hard to overextend on offense. But they're going to need somebody on that back end that we don't know the name of right now to step up and kind of become the household guy, or else they're missing a whole level without a single playmaker. And typically on defense, that's the offensive strategy of the game of football has gotten so good that if you have that weak of a link, it gets exploited pretty easily. And that's what really scares me about Tech. I know the schedule is not ultra tough compared to some of these other teams that we've gone over, but these quarterbacks in this league, if they know that you have secondary issues and there's certain people that can get picked on, they will get continually picked on by these QBs that are good enough. And again, someone's going to have to step up, or I really see that as a really big speed bump for this Texas Tech defense that, 11 guys are coming back and they're all upperclassmen. You really expect them to, start playing really, really good football, at least be one of the top 5 defenses in the league. So we'll see if they can make that step. Again, very hesitant myself, though.
One more point, Ryan. Sorry. The edge rusher, Isaac Smith, was out last season, but showed flashes from 2 years ago. That defense you brought up, really need him to take a big step. And as Troy was saying, pressure the quarterbacks.
Yes, and they're going to get tested early. It's not as difficult as last year. They're not going to Laramie. They don't have Oregon, but they do have a challenge. We'll talk about it on the other side, but we got to talk about rhythm. College football is here, baby. Build your model over there. Week 1 in the NFL is on the horizon, but week 0 is less than 10 days. I can't give out Georgia Tech plus 13 anymore. I sell that thing down to 11.5.
They caught you.
Hawaii.
The chat's been betting it down.
Hawaii minus 38 for the midnight game. They put it on Delaware State, although they do have UCLA on deck, so don't go crazy on that one. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going over sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That is sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. And we're also brought to you by Circa. Survive and Circa Million. Circa's back, bigger, better than ever. We're 1 weekend away from the contest, August 22nd through 24th. Use our promo code SGP15 to help you save a couple bucks. It can save you 15% off your hotel stay for that sign-up weekend. Sign up today between now and September 7th. If you can't do so in person, though, use our proxy. That's proxyfootballcontest.com to save you $50 off with that promo code SGP. All right, let's talk schedule. Let's talk futures. We haven't even talked about what they are. Right now in Vegas, over-under set at 7.5. If you watch show last night, I lean over on that. The Big 12 win total, 18-1, 300-1 to win the Natty. First thoughts, Rush, over-under.
I think we locked it in on Colby's show last night, Ryan. The over.
Right.
This feels very 8-4. Early schedule, we'll get into it there, but like this schedule a lot more than last year. So I think they can get this over pretty quickly, or at least be in a position by midseason to already have 6-7 wins. So I'm feeling pretty good about the over.
This was the if you watched the show last night, this was the one that I said I would lean under, but was one of the only picks that I gave out that I didn't lock. I'm scared of that 8th win. I don't know if this is an 8-4 team. They really scream 7-5 or even 6-6 to me. But the reason why I don't want to lock it in is when you look at the schedule and the chance of, if Texas Tech is at all in the running for an okay year, they look like they might have an opportunity to close pretty well and maybe steal a game at that point. But again, not a strong lean here. I think the 7.5 is pretty accurately set.
Something to Ryan. I'm so sorry. I want to correct myself from the show last night. I think I read off the wrong odds. I think I read the odds to get to the Big 12 championship game, but to win the Big 12 plus 1,800, that's pretty solid value. I like that from a value standpoint.
Glue factory.
Especially it's the Big 12, man. I think it could happen. Abilene Christian across the board, we got to win, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have them winning this one.
This is a game. This is a big swing game at Wazoo and Pullman, and then they got North Texas back at home. I kind of think they're going to win in Pullman. I have a weird feeling that they lost that heartbreaker last year in Wyoming. I think they get on the right side this year. I think they go to Pullman and win by a field goal. I got it, and then they beat North Texas. I got them 3-0 coming out of the non-con. Rush?
Agreed. I think they learned from last year and get it against Washington State. Maybe a future Big 12 matchup.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm going to give Washington State the win and give them the win over North Texas. 17-point lead blown against a Wyoming team that they did have a little bit of that it factor to them last year with Peasley kind of carrying Wyoming. And I don't know if Washington State has that same like, I'm going to get this shit done, even if I'm getting rocked in the chest over and over again. I'm still going to stand back up and keep scrambling. But Washington State has got to feel for the chances that they get to play other conference opponents now that they've kind of been absolved from power of football for a little bit. That's what scares me. I think they're only going to have a few games on their schedule circled, and this is guaranteed to be one of them. And possibly a Big 12 future matchup. But Wazoo on the road, tough place to go. And I think I'm just going to side with them because they're the home team.
Okay. I mean, that's fair. I think it's a coin flip game. They could not have asked for a better start to league play. Arizona State and Cincinnati at home, both in Lubbock. Are you kidding me? Wins.
Yes.
5-0 for me.
5-0. Easy.
5-0. Troy, 4-1.
4-1. I mean, definitely at least one win out of these two is pretty mandatory, I would say, for Texas Tech. But in terms of that 7.5, you need both here for sure.
Yeah. I mean, they'll be favored by a touchdown in both those games. At Arizona, it all comes crashing down. I got their first loss.
I agree.
So Rush and I got 5-1. Troy?
Yeah, I have Arizona winning this game. Again, I'm probably the highest on Arizona out of us three. But maybe this could be a good position for them to go Gundy and maybe just throw the game, let Arizona fucking stomp the shit out of them and prepare for the butt bowl.
Got a bye week after Arizona too, so going to the bye 5-1, reset. They'll be in good shape.
And I think they get Baylor. I think they're a better team than Baylor. You, Rush?
Yep, 6-1.
I think I gave Baylor this win on the Baylor preview.
Do you Benedict here?
No, Baylor pays players.
You don't think Texas Tech pays players? Tahj Brooks didn't come back for free. I can tell you that.
Now this is a very good point to remind everybody. They've got that Pat Mahomes money now. They've got the sponsorship on the field and all the Adidas stuff, and Pat's probably going to be around. Maybe getting a little bit of hype going back for the Red Raiders, give them some throwbacks. But no, I'm going to go ahead and give Baylor the road win here.
So Rush and I got him 6-1. Troy's got him down there 4-3. Back-to-back road spots at TCU at Iowa State. For me, TCU, Texas Tech, I always take the home team in that crazy game. And then I don't think they win a name. So I actually have them going back-to-back losses to drop them to 6-3.
I think they get this road win at TCU. I think I said that yesterday too. Hope I'm not benedicting myself, but we've been all over the place here. Yeah, I think this is the path for them, and then they're going to lose at Ames. I mean, that's just, it is so hard to win in Ames, especially late in the season when Matt Campbell has that team going. So what do I have? 8 or 7-3 at this point?
Yep, 7-3. I'm 6
or
and oh no,
7-2. 7-2. Yep.
I think they probably get TCU out of these 2 road games if they were to win one, but that's still going to be pretty tough to go on the road to Fort Worth. But for the schedule's sake, I'll say they go 1-1 in this back-to-back road trip.
Okay. So you're 5-4. I'm 6-3. Rush 7-2. Colorado go before the bye. That's a dub. Give me
easy dub.
7-3. Rush hits the over before
Hitting the over.
8-2. Troy,
I have them beating Colorado here. As everybody on SGPN will now know, that Colby and I are in a season-long lock battle on the Colorado over versus the under. And I'm going to need everybody to root on my side and continually banter him in the chat.
You got him.
Colorado kind of sucks. So,
well, hey,
yeah, this is also one of those late season spots where, Colorado could already be written off. If any of those guys that have NFL futures at this point in time in the season have some like minor nagging injury, load management could come into play. It's kind of tough picking Colorado at the end of the years after what we've seen from Prime and everything. So sorry, Chad G, but Colorado kind of sucks balls.
So you got them with 4 losses at the bye. I got them with 3. Rush 2. Finishing up, I think Gundy will get him. Gundy seems to always get them in Stillwater. And then I think they will beat West Virginia and knock West Virginia out of the Big 12 title game in Lubbock. I've already accepted it, Russia. We're going to be in the contention. There's going to be a scenario. We're going to go to Lubbock, and it's been a house of horrors, and we'll lose in Lubbock. I got Texas Tech finishing 8-4, and I'm on the over.
I have them losing these last 2 games, but you're probably right, Ryan, is set yourself up emotionally for that potential last game of this season and loss. And then, hey, hope for the best, expect the worst. But yeah, I think Gundy will get him. I think this could be kind of that game. I talked about it on last night's show with Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State's that classic team where if they didn't have a scoreboard showing the game, you'd be like, oh, Texas Tech won this game, or whoever they're playing won this game. And then it's like, how did Gundy win that? I think this is going to be that classic game. And then West Virginia, I think they do it in Lubbock. Late season. Who knows? I mean, the thing about when you start getting in these late season games is there's always at least half of the league that you're like, looks nothing like you expected them to start the season. So that's kind of where you get into this weird territory here. But I'll lean towards West Virginia.
I don't think they win either of these last 2 games. Honestly, I don't really see them having much of a shot in Stillwater by the time that the 25-year-old average aged should be the Dallas Cowboys, but still playing college football. The Pokes will be rolling by this time in the year. Hopefully they figured out that Alan Bowman can just turn around and hand it off. But I think West Virginia has a pretty good shot to go to Lubbock and win that game. I just trust Garrett Green. I've seen him do it way more than Behren Morton, and for that reason, I'll always side with the better quarterback. So I have them what?
6-6.
6-6.
6-6 bowl game. Rush and I are on the over at 8-4. Floor. I think for me, the floor is what Troy laid out. They've won 7 games in this 2 years. with 3 quarterbacks each year. That's my floor. Troy, do you have a floor where they miss a bowl?
I mean, I could see them. Maybe they lose like one of that Arizona State and Cincinnati game or something like that, and they only win 5 games. But that would be really pushing the floor a little bit low. Like, I know I'm not that high on this team, and I probably split a couple of games for the sake of record purposes. And because of that, I think I'm already pretty close to the floor. I think maybe 5 could be the floor, but it's more than likely 6 and 6.
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking 5 wins, there were injuries. 6 and 6 with the healthy team. The team's too good to be anything less than 6 and 6. I agree.
And the schedule's too soft. If they go 5 and 7 with this fucking schedule, I mean, they have 7 home games, and honestly, by far their hardest home game is West Virginia, the final game of the year. They're going to be favored between a field goal and touchdown and a couple points, probably more, and for like Arizona State and North Texas in all their home games except for West Virginia. West Virginia will be like a toss. But if I think 10-2 is the ceiling. If they hold Ford at home, 7-0, Lubbock's a tough place to play, and they go 3-2 on the road with Wazoo, Arizona, TCU, Iowa State, and Oklahoma State. If they go 3-2, I think they can get to the Big 12 title if they get on the luck side of the unlucky what was last year.
Yeah, I'll probably lean towards 9-3 being the ceiling. But I mean, if one of those losses is at Washington State, I mean, they'll be, in contention for that Big 12 championship game. The only thing that scares me about Texas Tech is they always seem to just lose a game they absolutely shouldn't. I feel like you got to put one of those in there, and it might be that Washington State game. Very good chance that it actually is if that happens. So
Baylor.
Yeah. That's a good point too. So I'll say 9-3.
Yeah, I think you're on it with 9-3 because to get to 10, they would probably have to win both at TCU and at Iowa State back to back, or steal, Oklahoma State or Arizona on the road, one of those two. And I don't know that the schedule is soft, but it does kind of seem like it's already all planned out with planned home wins and kind of planned road losses once you get into Big 12 play. They're gonna have to pull an unexpected upset on one of those two higher class teams between Arizona and Oklahoma State, or win both back-to-back roads. But I could see them getting to 9. I could see them stealing, TCU on the road and then winning both that Arizona State and Cincinnati, those home games. And if they don't slip up to Washington State, that's 9.
Just so everybody knows, this is kind of that range where TCU and K-State were 2 years ago. That 18-1 range. I'm going to take a sprinkle at that. And Texas Tech fans, you're watching this right now. Imagine this scenario. You win the Big 12. You clinch that 3 or 4 seed. You get a bye in the playoff. And Texas goes 9-3, the same record, and they're at home. So let's parlay that. I'm going to give out that parlay. Texas to miss the playoff, and Texas Tech 18-1 to win the Big 12. And we just made a lot of fans in Lubbock, Texas, with that parlay. But hey, that's more reasonable than I think people realize. Texas Tech fans, you guys could not have asked for a better schedule. I mean, you don't get K-State or Utah. And you get 7 home games. So, I mean, it's now or never for Joey McGuire. If he can't get at least 7+ wins with this schedule, then I think you're going to have to sit back and reevaluate things. Is that fair, Rush?
Yes, it is. If you're 6 and 6,
disappointing, man.
It's really disappointing. His seat's definitely warm there. If you're 5 and 7, barring anything crazy, yeah, someone with oil money is going to come in and be like, "Yep, we're taking this back over." So, yeah, he absolutely needs to at least go 6 and 6.
Now I know we talked about. I know we were talking about some of the scheduling when we were picking championship games last night on the main show. Some of the teams that don't play each other, where it looks like there's a pretty good shot that these two might get matched up. Texas Tech does not play UCF. That could be your Big 12 championship game in the truck stop conference. the Raiders and the shiny, golden Knights.
Dude, I kind of also just realized they don't have UCF either, or Kansas.
Or Kansas.
I mean, that's 4 out of the top 6 odds teams that Texas Tech does not draw. So, I mean, the toughest team on their schedule is Oklahoma State's the toughest game, but then it's West Virginia and Iowa State. I mean, that's
the problem is their away games. They're at Arizona, at Ames, at Oklahoma State. That's the one hang up that Texas Tech does have. Like, they are going to be, even though the rest of the schedule is great for them, obviously they're going to be, if they're in the Big 12 championship game, they probably have to win 2 out of 3 of those. Like, they're going to be that's still well earned for them, and they're going to have to earn it.
And Behren Morton's not transferring to Ohio State and winning the starting job either. So probably worth noting that at that point in time, you're talking about 2 years ago, Will Howard wasn't even a full-time starter for K-State. He was still splitting time, wasn't he?
Yeah. Him and Adrian Martinez.
Yeah, so you had a dude splitting time with Adrian Martinez that can transfer to Ohio State and win the starting job. That's a bit of a different weight class than where I see Behren Morton. I know there were a couple of people in the chat too talking about he might be the worst quarterback in the Big 12. Have we taken that into account? Is there a chance?
The dude at Arizona State.
Arizona State, yeah.
BYU doesn't have
or Behren. Behren sucks.
Well, it may not even
Although
be
he won a Big 12 title.
Left.
He won a Big 12 title at Baylor. So maybe he doesn't suck. Maybe it's Bowman. Honestly, Bowman might be the worst one.
Yeah,
true. Has the best team around him and the best coach. So, all right. I think we covered Texas Tech thoroughly. Go check out the Gambling Gauchos, friends of the program and friends of the Ryan and Rush show. Troy, what you got going on this weekend? We got 3 left.
Just don't sprinkle this team to win the national championship. And if you are going to take that 18-1 to win the Big 12, I would definitely take the make a Big 12 title appearance as well.
Great point. What was that last night, Rush? 9-1, 8-1?
I think it was 9-1.
Yeah, you're getting half odds. Oh yeah, you're still getting 9-1 juice. Yeah,
and we'll finish our last 3 next week, and then the following week we will give out all those, make the championship game odds, play CF playoff, whatever, CB, I can't fucking talk, college football playoff, etc. But most importantly, Rush, what you got going on?
I'll see you this weekend, Ryan. Little fun before the real fun in college football happens. So looking forward to enjoying the rest of summertime, the calm before the storm, but appreciate all the support, everyone. And looking forward to ending with West Virginia next week. And then it's time.
It is time, baby. Guns up. Wreck 'em, baby. When they win the Big 12, 18-1. You guys can buy me some beers in Lubbock, West Texas. One of my favorite college towns. Love those fans. Love that place. Great culture. Go check out the college basketball experience. Breaking it down. Coach McCaslin's doing a great job. Great fans there. Go check out the college baseball experience. They got a good program there. College football experience. We all were on that last night. All 134 team previews, including Texas Tech. FCS experience, go check out Abilene Christian. That's your opener. Go check them all out. We all come together as one on youtube.com/college experience. That's all I got. We will be back next week with the Central Florida very, very shiny Golden Knights. So then we got Utah and West Virginia. That's all I got. He's at Troy Chewning. He's at Rambling Rush. I'm at Moneyline_Mac. We are the Big 12 College Experience, and we are the hell out of here.